Yes.
We saw, hey,
Hi.
hi, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Witches and Wine. This is the show where we talk about witchy stuff and we drink wine, clink and drink,
Clink and
clink and
drink.
drink.
Clink and drink.
Take a sip there, my friend. I want to see your reaction. Mm?
Ooh.
Mm.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
Nice, nice, awesome.
Mm.
I am your hostess with the mostest, Lola Stardust.
I'm silent as Stardust.
And before we start our show, we like to do our little disclaimer. Um, some people have said that they don't appreciate when we drink a lot of wine and we talk about witchy stuff, even though the show is called Witches and Wine. But we have this wonderful thing. If you don't like to see people enjoy themselves with spirits and knowledge, there's an X in the corner of the screen, and all you got to do is click it.
And we disappear.
Disappear.
Magic.
We're witches with jazz hands. Okay, so magic. All right, so before we get to our beautiful guest, who I'm just so excited to have on the show, I'm going to turn this over to Silenus, my husband, my high priest, my partner in crime. He's going to talk. Tubba dabba doo.
Adab adab.
Yabba dabba doo. He's going to tell us about the wine tonight.
So tonight I have chosen Catena Zapata from Argentina. This is one of the most sought after Argentinian wines. This is a 2008 vintage. The score on this one, most recent scoring, has given it 98 points, so it's absolutely phenomenal. Incredibly age-worthy, big, bold, smooth, elegant, rich, just absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful wine. 56% Cab, 44% Malbec, just dark and lush and delicious, the way we like our wines
And our women.
and our women. So,
Clink and drink to bold, dark women. Is that what you said? It's the bold, dark.
Yes. Clink
Yeah,
and
we like
drink.
bold, dark women. Clink and drink. All right. Thank you, honey.
you're welcome.
It's so good. So let's get to our guest. I love this woman. She I was actually telling someone the other day that I remember first meeting you on Second Life when I was helping you set up your astrology workshop for the school. Is that when we really first kind of talked? I feel like it was.
I think so. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I remember you were like, I want to do this astrology talk, and I was like, okay, and I was helping you with the little location you were at because I was doing events coordinating for the school. So, and I just remember like you talking about it for just a few minutes when we were online, and I just was like, oh my gosh, she knows her onions, aka astrology. That she knows her onions is an old 1920s saying. FYI, if you just want to know weird
Well,
random.
being as the only one you're there, I would trust your judgment.
I was not alive in the 20s. So, Lilliana Blackstar, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. Yes, my name is Lilliana Blackstar, and I'm an astrologer. And my website is hestiasmuse.net. And I do astrology things all the time, all day, every day. And it's like my brain is always in the stars and in the planets. And I know Lola through ATC, Aquarian Tabernacle Church stuff. I am active. I'm a graduate of Wilstenstein Theological Seminary, and I am, actively usually on staff or cast in some way with ATC festivals.
Yep.
I'm a first-degree priestess practicing with the Evergreen Hearth in Centralia, Washington.
We love our hearth people. I just have such a soft spot in my heart for the hearth.
And you're also
And the hearth loves you.
I love the hearth. And you're part of SPA, also the Seattle Psychic.
Yes, I'm a member of Seattle Psychics Association,
Yeah.
also, which is an association of tarot card readers, astrologers, Reiki practitioners. So if you're looking for a reader, that's a good place to go to find one. Our readers are vetted to be ethical and legit and experienced in what they do. And
Lola is
so
also
that
part of
is
it.
a great place to find me as well as some other amazing
And what is
readers.
the website for that?
SeattlePsychicsassociation.com.
Psychicsassociation.com. And if I misspelled it, I apologize. But I'm sure people, if you're interested, you can ask us. We'll
Yes.
tell you.
Mhm.
We'll let you know. And I'm part of that
We can
too.
try to post it again later. Seattle Psychics Association. It looks good to me.
I spell psychics wrong sometimes, so I get a little nervous about it.
You get psychic
Psychics is one of those funny words to
That
spell
word,
sometimes.
yeah. Well,
I wanted to talk about the wine that I'm drinking too.
Yeah,
a little
introduce
bit,
the wine.
because welcome to Witches and Wine.
Yeah.
I have chronic migraines, and a lot of wines trigger migraines, so I can't really drink wine, but I can drink mead.
Mm-hmm.
Within reason. So
Yeah.
so I'm drinking this mead that's local to Tukwila, Washington, which is right around the corner from where I live. They have a little tasting room. They're called Contrivance.
Ooh, and they have the bee. Yep, there you are.
Contrivance.
Yep.
With a little bee. And this one is one of their specialty holiday flavors. It is s'more.
The s'more
So
flavor,
it's
yummy.
flavored like s'mores. It says mead with cacao nibs, vanilla, and cinnamon.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I took that first drink when we did our first Think and Drink, and oh my gosh,
I saw
is
you.
delightful.
You
So
went,
they
We were very
probably
impressed by it.
don't have more of this flavor in particular, because when I bought it, it was like, no, they make special flavors that they just have for a limited time.
Yeah.
And I bought it like 3 weeks ago, and they were like, yeah, we've only got like a few bottles of that left.
Oh wow. Jeez.
But they do regularly put out seasonal flavors and new flavors that they try, that they have in their tasting room and at local like farmers markets. They have their website, which is drinkcontrivance.com.
Drinkcontrivance.com.
Yes. And I'm just giving them a shout out. They're delightful. I've met both the husband and wife team that run and make the mead and run the little shop, and they're both delightful people. So I love to give a shout out to someone local. It's a small business.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They just started up like a year ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
They started up like right after the pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, so they're very, very new.
A bunch of people in the audience are excited by this and say, I must have that bottle.
Yeah, and the bottle's just gorgeous.
They have the beautiful label that has the bee on it.
I love that.
They were okay with that. They want what's inside the bottle. They said they heard a s'more mead and they were all about it.
That's just sounds amazing. I am very excited to try that. So let's talk about the stars. So we were talking before the show, and I was telling Lilliana that, a lot of us witches, we love astrology. I mean, that's kind of, there's common things that witches love. Astrology, crystals, tarot. Like those are kind of,
general,
and those happen to be the three things that I freaking love to talk about. But when I started really to get to know Lilliana and listen to her insight and her skill and her knowledge, I was like, I thought I knew a lot about astrology. But you know what? Like we said before, everyone is at where they need to be with their level. So there's no and that's what I love about you, Lilliana, is you're very humble. You're not like, I'm the authority. And, you just do it from the heart. You have a passion for it that comes through. And I want to ask, when did that passion for astrology start for you?
Well, like most, people studying witchcraft and paganism, you stumble upon astrology and you're like, ooh, what's this? Yeah. And I think I kind of casually studied it the way that most people kind of casually study it, through my 20s.
Yeah.
Where I knew my sun sign and maybe my moon, I knew a little bit. And I think it was around 2009, I was like, I want to take it a little deeper, and I got some more books, and I learned how to cast a chart by hand with an ephemeris.
Yeah, I knew people that did that, and that's not, you
Yeah.
can go online now, but I tell you what, when people do the handwritten ones and the like, those are amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that like opened my eyes to just like how complex of a thing astrology is.
Yeah.
And because I'm a Capricorn sun, so first I was like, I was a skeptic.
Yep.
I was like, this is kind of cool, but I didn't honestly relate to a lot of the things that I read about Capricorn.
Me too. But you do really, though.
Right?
We do, though.
You don't want to
Right.
admit that you
But
might tell
the
someone it's a
first things
Capricorn
that you
season.
read on the surface level about Capricorn are very like
They're
that's
kind of,
not me, you know, especially when you're in your 20s.
yes, because they're very stuffy, a little stuffy, and kind of know it all, and kind of,
Yeah, and I
they
was
don't
like,
like to
I'm
have
not
fun.
like that, and so I was
Yep.
very like I don't know, and then I started like trying to understand more of how it worked and what it was, and I realized, okay, it's not just about our sun sign. There's the moon and the ascendant and all these other planets, and I started reading it, and the more I studied it, the more I was like,
Holy
okay, this really makes sense. And for
Yeah.
a Capricorn, once we find like that thing that clicks and we're like, okay, now I've got it, and there's
Yep.
a system to it, and Capricorns also love like having a system to work with. It's not just random.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And so I kind of casually, again, after 2009, which was my Saturn return, oddly enough,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but I didn't get super into it still. I was still pretty surface level with a lot of it
Yeah.
until about, honestly, just around 2016, 2017.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I had just moved to Olympia, Washington. And I, in person, met a couple people who were practicing professional astrologers, which I had
Okay.
never like in person met astrologers before. Like I had read books and I had seen maybe some YouTube videos, but I hadn't like interacted with these people in real life.
Yeah.
And so I met two people that I still consider to be kind of like mentors and teachers of mine, Ari Moshe Wolf and Sabrina Monarch.
Okay.
And they
I
lived
never-
in Olympia, Washington at the time.
Yeah.
And they were both practicing astrologers, and I would go to events and they would talk about astrology. And I think Sabrina and I traded readings where I read some tarot for her in exchange for her doing some astrology for me.
Yeah.
And having that in-person reading instead of just reading stuff online, having an actual astrologer sit down with me and read my chart
Yeah.
was a whole different experience.
Like,
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, how did she do that?
Oh, like, isn't that crazy? Yeah.
I was like, well, I wanted to know, like, because she was like, oh, you've been going through this and you're currently at this point in your life energetically, and this is the next thing that you're going to be focusing on. And I was like, that felt super relevant and super helpful and very accurate to me. How did you do that? Like, what on this wheel were you looking at?
Yeah.
To make you know that
So
those were
much.
the things going. And so it was more than just reading my birth chart. It was reading like how the energy is aligning for me right now.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, there's a whole other layer to birth chart, to like astrology. It's not just about birth charts. There's transit readings, and there's
I would never.
and I dove like all the way in at that point.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, that hasn't been really that long ago. And in 2017, Sabrina Monarch gave an intensive class online. I think there was a series of like 9 weeks of classes that I took with her. And then I just like did my own study and read everything I could and watched videos and read podcasts and started doing readings for people myself, probably in 2018, just like little fun practice readings.
You come across that, you know, that you've been doing this longer. I'm very amazed that it's within the last
5 years.
5-6 years. I just
Right.
assume like you came out of the womb going, and the stars say, you know, like
Yeah, people are surprised when they're like, oh, you've only been doing this for that long. Yeah, like I
But-
didn't give anyone like I didn't read anyone's chart other than my own until like 2018.
oh wow, crazy. And so the thing I love about astrology and what you were just saying is that it answers so many questions about why we do the things we do, our birth chart and all that other stuff that you were talking about that I don't even know about. I'm just like birth chart, some of the main things. Your let me see if I'm good right about this. That's very, it's very Capricorn of you to want to, you know, you find something and want to know about it. But do you have something in one of your houses that's like Sagittarius or something that makes you that way?
Like if I were to look at my chart and try to determine like what connects with like wanting to
You dived in
all the things and like dive in all the way. First of all, I guess I have my Mercury also in Capricorn.
Okay.
And both my sun and moon are in the 12th house, which is kind of like the house of like spirituality a lot.
Yeah.
And it wants to like dive deep into the esoteric realms of things.
Yeah.
And then my moon is in Scorpio, which is also very interested in the occult. Yep. And my moon is specifically in the 9th house, which is the house of philosophy, beliefs, and like higher education.
Yep.
And it's right next to my midheaven, which the midheaven is a point that describes a public part of you and the way that other people see you.
Yeah.
So the Scorpio moon part of me is very public.
Yeah.
And then I have a bunch of stuff in Virgo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Virgo is the very detail-oriented, Mercury-ruled, like, sign that's like, I want to understand how things work. And I have Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn in Virgo. Wow. So that makes me very good at analyzing details, breaking things down, digesting information. And then my Scorpio moon like transmits it out to the public.
Yeah. That's, see, right there. She just like
bing,
boom,
bing, bing,
boom,
bing.
boom. And I can't memorize. I'm just now memorizing the houses. Like I'm just now understanding the houses. And I'm like, I feel like that is so rudimentary. Like I should have already known that, but I do it at my own pace. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, no, totally go at your own pace. I push myself really hard. People are like, you did it so fast. I'm like,
but that's very Virgo-ish too, because Virgo's
that's all the like I said, it's the Virgo plus the Capricorn plus the intensity of the Scorpio moon. It was just like once I found the thing that I was interested in, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to dive completely in, put all my energy into it, and try to make a career of it.
Wow. And you're impressive. I want to talk about the classes that you do through Seattle Psychics Association. You do the archetype alignment series. I've had some wine.
Really?
And I'm not gonna lie, a little bit of marijuana.
Yes, I do. I have been doing this year. We just started it this year. An archetype alignment series with Seattle Psychics Association, where through Seattle Psychics Association, they wanted to host some classes and workshops. And I said, okay, I can teach some astrology classes, but where do I start? What do I teach first? And I was like, okay, let's just start with the 12 zodiac signs and do one class a month. And we just talk about the current sign of that season. So we've done Aries through Scorpio. The next one coming up is the Sagittarius class.
And when is the Sagittarius class coming up?
Yeah, not this next Friday, but the Friday after that.
And you can go to Seattle Psychics Association to get that information.
Yes,
I highly suggest
it. It's on the 18th, I believe.
Yeah.
I highly suggest it. I attend them, and I want to talk about how you break it up to make it understandable. And so that's what I want to talk about. These are great series. And you break it up in ways that you talk about the element of the sign, the what would you call that? Is it not the
modality?
The modality, which is
yes.
Cardinal,
Cardinal,
mutable,
fixed, or mutable. Yep.
fixed and mutable. Yep. She breaks it down in a way that is so awesome, because by the time you combine what she's doing, you're like, I fucking know astrology, or at least you're like, I know the sign of Libra, or I know the sign of, it's like, it makes so much sense. What made you, is that how you learned about it, and the basics of it, like breaking it down?
I don't think it was presented to me necessarily in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But as I learned, like one of the things that I did when I first started studying astrology was like, okay, I want to break down the elements and the modalities, because I was coming from a place of the first thing I learned in this that's similar to this was tarot. And when you learn tarot, first you learn what the 4 suits mean.
Yep.
And you learn what the numbers mean. So you break it down and you learn a little bit of numerology and you learn about the elements, right? And then when you go and you get the 7 of Cups, you go, okay, cups is the element of water and 7 means this. So you put that together and you go, now I know what the 7 of Cups means. Yep. So that was my method for learning the tarot. And I said, why not apply this to learning astrology too?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's amazing how you do it. And you bring in music and celebrities. Can you talk about that part?
Well, it's not on the recordings because we can't record a song and put it on the recorded. But for the people who attend the live class, I start every class by playing a song that's by a person with the sun sign that we're about to talk about.
Yes.
And so,
and my musical heart loves you for that, by the way, because
it sets the tone, and I find a song that I feel like expresses that energy really well. Like, I don't know if you were there, but for Scorpio, I played a Bjork song. I heard she's my favorite. She's my favorite Scorpio.
Nim was like, I'm listening to this by Bjork because of Liliana's thing, and I was like, I fucking love that. I love that you included
and
Bjork
then and then we'll start the recording for the class. So if you get the recordings, you'll hear me mention what song we listened to. I think most of the time, so that you can go and look it up and listen to it yourself. And I'll talk about the person who wrote the song and why I think they're displaying the archetype of that energy with the song. And then we talk about, like I said, we talk about the element of the sign and we talk about the modality. I'll talk about gods and goddesses that I associate with the archetype of that sign. I'll talk about animals that I associate. We'll talk about the season, the literal season that this sign is happening in. And then we kind of tie all this together to get a complete picture. And then you can kind of start to piece together through all of these different pieces what makes a Scorpio, or what makes a Leo. Because like the personality traits or energies that we associate with a sign, this is not random and arbitrary. Like they're assigned these traits based on the blend of it being a water sign that occurs in the fall, and it's a fixed sign, and it's associated with the archetype of this goddess. Like there's reasons why we have the associations that Scorpio is secretive or mysterious, right? Because if you combine it's water, which is like intuitive and psychic and emotional, and it's in the fall when everything's getting dark all of a sudden, the season's changing, we're closing in on that coldness and winter. So we're going within a little bit. And then it's a fixed sign, which is stubborn but also stabilizing. So it's taking that energy of change through the season and it's gonna like nail it down.
Yeah.
And that's like that energy of like the mysterious and the secretive. And that's like, so like people are like, why do you associate Scorpio with being secretive? Well, because it's a fixed water sign.
Exactly. Like it's kind of in the energy of the stars when this person was born. But I want to ask you an interesting question. Do you think that someone, it's in the stars, it makes us who we are, and we obviously know that it's not a perfect science. It's not this is how you are, because one, there's so many other outside exterior factors that affect that person. So like when we talk about nurture versus
nature.
Yes.
nature.
I love this question so much. First of all, I want to respond. I saw a question in the chat about the Seattle Psychics Association archetype alignment classes. Can you watch past classes? Yes, you can. We have like package deals where you can purchase the past classes one at a time or all of them, whatever you want access to, and then you can they'll send you video access to watch those classes. I believe if you sign up to watch all 12 and complete all 12, then you'll get a certification from Seattle Psychics Association that says that you have an understanding of the archetypes of astrology.
Awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah.
And so then you'll be like, look, I have a certification from Seattle Psychics Association that you can then use for your own business if you're learning to be an astrologer.
And you don't have to live in Seattle to be part of Seattle.
No, you do not have to live in Seattle to be a member of Seattle Psychics Association.
I'm over here in Spokane and I'm part of the association. And
and not just even in Washington State. We can have members from all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of what we do is online. We do have some local events that, but eventually we want to have chapters in other cities so that they can have local events there too. And so
you can find these past classes on the Seattle Psychics Association.
You email them to ask about getting the past classes, or there's a link to the Eventbrite to sign up for future classes.
Okay. Cool.
So if you just go to the website and find their info at seattlepsychicsassociation.com for their email.
And we have their administrator, Nim, in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if she has anything to say, you can add it in the chat.
Okay, yes. If Namira is in the chat, she can help you with any questions you have about that. So I'm super happy to always give a great shout out. They've been a great support to my professional development.
Yes, they're amazing.
And also just providing a community of great people who care about each other and they care about my success. And we care about our success as a group.
Yeah.
So it's very great.
So let me continue with this question. No, thank you. My Capricorn brain recognizes your Capricorn brain because you're like, the information.
Let's clink and drink to that.
Let's drink to Capricorn brains here.
Yay.
Yeah. Oh, the Gemini pulled away.
And the Gemini brain. Hey.
He pulled away the glass a little bit because he doesn't want to admit that the Capricorn brain right now is ruling the energy here.
Yeah, well, 2 cardinal signs are going to kind of overwhelm the 1 mutable sign in the room.
But,
sorry, it's just how it goes.
I represent 2.
Okay. Nature versus nurture with the signs and the stars. So here's my question. Okay, as a Capricorn and my birth chart and everything, there are things that there's that map out why I act the way I act, why I react the way I react, why I feel the way I feel. Birth chart maps that out. Does that map out how we have dealt with our surroundings, or have our surroundings influenced us and changed us in a way that have you met people that are like, I'm nothing like that. My birth chart is wrong because I was raised and exposed to this, and this in my youth.
Mhm.
But then can you say, but how did you react to those things because of what's in it? Do you see what I'm going? You see where I'm going with this?
Right. Like
I got deep.
It's very yes and it's very yes and both. Like, we can't deny the influence of obviously our culture, our environment, the time that we live in. All of those things are relevant and all of those things influence us. So what it comes down to is this, and people will be surprised to hear me say this, is I do not believe personally that astrology is causative.
Can you expand on that?
Yes. So do I literally think that a planet that is thousands of miles away is somehow influencing and making my personality be a certain way?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Like, not really, but at the same time, as witches, we understand one of the main concepts in witchcraft is as above, so below.
Yeah.
And that is the main premise of astrology. As above, so below, as within, so without.
Yep.
The astrological chart is a reflection. It's reflective rather than causative. I am not separate from the solar system. I am part of it. So what is happening in the solar system is also happening to me. What is happening to me is also happening to the solar system.
Yes.
So I use astrology as a way to, like, find meaning in my own life or in other people's lives.
Yeah.
And, like, it just gives a framework for understanding what I'm feeling and what I'm going through and what I have been experiencing or am going to experience. And once you start to study it, you're like, okay, it works. Why does it work? How does it work? How are the planets influencing us? I don't know how it works. I'm not going to pretend like there's any logical reason or science behind it.
Yeah.
Because truthfully, astrology is not a science, it's an interpretive art.
Okay. I like how you worded that.
Astronomy is a science, and
That's a
that's the
science.
study of the stars. And then the astrology is the study of the stars combined with applying meaning and saying, what does it mean that the stars are in this position?
So astronomy is the hard science. Astrology would be the soft science of it.
Well, I wouldn't even call it a science necessarily. Like I said, it's an interpretive art, but it uses math and astronomy as its basis. It's like, there's different forms of divination. Some people throw bones. The bones are the tools. Some people draw cards. The cards are the tools. For an astrologer, astronomy and mathematics are the tools.
Okay, I like that. Oh my God.
And so you cast a chart the way that someone casts the bones, right? By looking at a certain time. And the chart is both a clock and a map.
Yeah.
It tells you when and where things were. So you find a point in time, and then from where you were on Earth, you determine where the planets were relative to you at that time. So it's both a map and a clock.
Yeah.
So if we are not separate from the solar system and the galaxy, and it's a part of us and we're part of it, it's kind of like, do my individual cells think of themselves as separate from me? Probably.
Yeah.
If they were, cognitive aware beings, which they might be.
We don't know that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so generally people think of the birth chart as like a snapshot of this is the universe or the solar system in relation to you at the time that you took your first breath. and that moment has imprinted on you.
Yeah.
And that was the moment. Some people believe that that was the moment you signed your soul contract for this life.
Yep.
And you said, these are the things that I'm here to experience. And I'm going to go through this life and potentially experience all of these things. How you experience them, though, is different. So to the question of the people who are like, oh, I don't relate to that at all. First of all, most of the time, the people who are saying they don't relate to their chart only know their sun sign.
And yes, and that's how, but that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of divine intervention for those who, because those who say, oh, I'm nothing like my sign. But if you have stuff in your chart that's going to make you go, I need to figure out why my sun sign is not aligning with my personality, I'm going to dive deeper. But then you have the people that are like, oh, I don't believe in it. I'm a Scorpio, and nothing in my horoscopes or nothing is, I'm a Scorpio. I'm gonna go.
Right.
I don't care. But they might have.
And also, like, the solar system doesn't really care if you believe that it's relevant to you or not.
Exactly.
Like, if I have a cell in my finger that doesn't believe that Lilliana exists, like, that doesn't make that like, I don't care.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, and so it's like, you don't have to, like, it's a tool if you want to use it, that can be very empowering. And if people don't want to use it, that's fine. Some people engage with psychology, some people engage with mysticism, some people engage with science. Whatever you use to help you find meaning and purpose and happiness in your life, that's fine. But, like, one way I like to describe, like, how can people, like, how there's not, like, such a fixed outcome. Like, astrology is not so, like, definitive and reductive that I can say, oh, if you have Mercury and Capricorn, you're going to be like this, period.
Yeah.
Right. And so the way I like to describe that is, have you ever seen the show Iron Chef?
Yeah.
Okay, they all have the same ingredients.
Yep.
But they all make something different.
Yep. That's
the same. Like, we still have free will. We still have choices. It's just the chart kind of shows us the base ingredients that we have to work with in this lifetime.
Yeah.
But you can combine those ingredients in so many different ways. Just, I could go into the kitchen and be like, there's eggs and cheese and bread. Cool. I'm going to make a cheese omelet and toast.
Yep.
And someone else goes, oh, there's eggs and cheese and bread. I'm going to make an egg and cheese sandwich.
Yep.
And you would think that those are two distinctly different things. If you have two plates and one is an omelet and one is a cheese egg sandwich, those don't seem like similar things to you.
But they have the similar
those
basis.
Seem distinctly different to you before you eat them, or if you decide I like this one but not this one. They're the same ingredients, though, that built them. And so that's how you can have twins who were born at the same day, around the same time, but they have distinctly different, like, life experiences or personality traits. They had the same ingredients, and so I could look at both of their charts and be like, you are totally a Pisces moon. And they'd go, well, my twin is a Pisces moon too, but they're totally different. I go, no, but they're also being a Pisces moon. They're just being a Pisces moon in a different way than you are.
Yep, exactly.
Well, like
because they've mixed that ingredient. What?
Yeah.
We have a coven member who, her and I are 6 days apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have everything the same but one sign in our whole chart.
But they're very.
Yeah, but we have a lot of differences.
A lot of differences.
A lot of similarities and a lot of differences, and it's really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about when you were talking about people who are skeptics on astrology. I have this story I want to share. I was recently at a flogging 101 class at Atomic Threads Boutique. And because I am new to the flogging experience, but I'm very happy to be part of it. And so I went there, and there was a couple that was sitting behind me that I knew who they were. and I'm talking to them, and somehow through different conversations, astrology came up, and her husband said, I don't believe in that.
Mhm.
You know, I respect your belief in it, but I don't think, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Cool, you know. But throughout the class, I was listening to his responses. I was feeling his energy. I would turn around and we would interact. And then I go, are you an Aquarius? And he goes, how'd you know that? I'm just
Because you're an Aquarius.
I was like, and I just looked at his wife, and because she believes in it, and so she kind of looked at him like she kind of knows things. Like I just like called it out. I was like, "You're an Aquarius," you know, and it's like he kind of gave me this look like insert foot into mouth. But have you had because as tarot readers and people who do divination for the public, we get our skeptics. Have you had people come in and talk to you or want your services and like, have you ever had skeptics?
Well, I did when I was doing tarot, because tarot is very, I think, accessible. And in general, it's cheaper. So if they spend $10, $20 on a thing they're skeptical for, then it's kind of no loss. Whereas they're not really willing to spend $80 on a session for something that they're skeptical of.
Yeah.
and I'm on the lower end of the price scale for most astrology readings.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
So my assumption is that most people who are skeptics probably haven't had a full chart reading.
Yep. Yeah.
And then like it's kind of one of those things where I'm not interested in reading for skeptics. And so I don't market myself for skeptics. I market myself for people who are interested in like getting real with astrology and using it to like improve your life.
Yep.
And so I haven't really specifically had people come to me wanting readings, astrology readings that are skeptical. Although it's funny because just yesterday I did a recording for another podcast that I'm going to be on that's going to come out in, I think, the first week of December. And it was this person contacted me out of the blue because they heard about me. They do a podcast. He's an atheist.
Oh, wow.
And he does a podcast about different belief systems.
Yeah.
He's here on YouTube. It's called Unquestionable with Calvin Smith, I believe. I might be getting that wrong. Unquestionable is the name of the podcast.
Okay.
And he just interviews people with different beliefs than him because he wants to understand. And he says, I want to believe as many true things as possible. But in order to do that, I have to ask people what they believe is true.
Yeah.
And so I just had this experience yesterday of like sitting down with a skeptic and not necessarily like defending my beliefs because we didn't debate, but he was just interviewing me about like, how does it work? What do you believe?
Yeah.
And it made me like really have to stop and think about, what do I believe?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, for doing readings for people, like I said, I'm not really interested in converting anyone to believe in astrology. If you don't believe, then okay.
You're not out there.
It really doesn't affect me one way or another if you don't believe in astrology. There's plenty of people who do, who are willing to come to me and sit down with me. And those are the people that I'm here to connect with, are the people who want to understand it, who want to use astrology. I like to use astrology for personal self-reflection and self-knowledge. I see it as a tool similar to a counseling tool in psychology, where I can understand my nature a little bit and more in depth. Like I can understand my base, like core reactions to things.
Yep.
And then I can decide to whether I want to keep those parts of myself or change them, which
Yeah.
parts of myself I want to grow, which parts of myself need healing. And I can use astrology to really like zero in on those goals. I can use it as a tool to be like, oh, I need to work on this shadow work. What part of my chart gives me clues on how I should work with that?
Yeah.
Or I want to plan the best time to do things in my life, because it's kind of like knowing the weather. Before you go out, you check the weather. You know, you want to know if it's raining, because that changes how you dress and how you are going to interact with the world when you go out. So I kind of see it as like, here are the energies coming in today.
Yep. And that's so important with especially a lot of us.
This is how those energies affect me in particular with my birth chart. And then I can go, oh, you know what? Right now, the moon is in Taurus. And so that's a really good time to be resting or doing things at home. Or I can go, oh, when the moon is in this sign, you know, or not just the moon, but other planets too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Venus is in my 10th house right now, which is great for business.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to like actively like put myself out there. Part of the reason that I scheduled for this to happen right now, instead of a month ago or next month, was because I was like, I've got Venus in my 10th house. That's really helping me shine in a public way and like support my like business growth. And so I'm like, you know, this is good timing for me. So I like to use astrology like that to help me with timing, to help me understand what energy is coming in so that I can use it. Because as witches, we're like, oh, I'm going to do a spell. I need this gemstone. I need this herb. And I go, and I'm going to time it. So I also have the supportive energy from the solar system coming in at the same time. Like in the basics, you know that when you want to grow something, you want the waxing moon. And when you want to release something, you want the waning moon. That's basic astrological magic.
Yeah. Well,
and then you can take it even further and do that with other planets too.
So I want to make sure we've got a little over 10 minutes, because we try to keep this as at an hour. And we can always have you come back too. I mean, we have a lot of Roman is one of our repeat guests.
Roman is amazing.
Yeah.
Bella. I could talk about astrology all night, so please feel free to cut me off.
No. But I want to make sure that if anyone has any questions, now's the time. Start posting them in the chat. If you want to ask her something about your moon or your sun or stars or whatever, please do.
People gave us a list earlier of all their 3 big ones.
Oh, okay. So
and there's a whole list of them.
Where's that at?
Schooling.
Oh, here we go.
It starts with an Eric.
All right, you got your big 3 going on. I am a Capricorn.
Eric is
Capricorn sun, Scorpio moon, and Capricorn rising. That's my big 3.
All right, Eric here is Eric Hebert. Hebert is Gemini sun, Cancer moon, Sagittarius rising. Real quick, do you want to just kind of just from that, like, do an assessment? 30 seconds.
On the spot.
On the spot.
So Geminis are curious, and mercurial is a good word for Geminis because you're very mentally active. The curiosity to understand the world is just insatiable. And then Cancer moon, Cancers are the caregivers. They're affectionate, and they're also can be clingy or sometimes very stubborn, but it's because you're protecting yourself. There's a lot of emotions there, so you have to like protect those inner emotions and only share them with certain people because it's really hard to be vulnerable, right? And then Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius is the adventurer and the philosopher, which goes really well with the Gemini energy. So I can tell that you were born in the evening just by knowing that you're a Gemini sun with the Sagittarius rising. You were born around the time of the sun setting, either just before or just after sunset. And so you have that Gemini and Sagittarius axis. Gemini and Sagittarius are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, they are.
So one thing that we talk about in my classes is the axis. When you learn about one sign, you want to learn about the opposite sign, because the opposite sign has clues on how to balance the energy. They balance each other's energy out. They're opposites, but they're opposites that support each other. And so Gemini and Sagittarius, Gemini is like, I want the facts, the basic information, like where's the knowledge? And Sagittarius says, okay, now that I have all the information, I need to apply wisdom.
Yeah. So we got Nimer. I don't mean I'm trying to be a polite host.
Yes.
I'm good at timing. I'm a Capricorn. Come on.
Keep it going.
Nimer, Pisces, Cancer, Gemini. Is that? Oh, that's your
Nimir.
sun. Nimir.
Yeah, that's
sun,
probably sun, moon, and rising.
Rising. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's usually how people put it in the order of sun, moon, and rising.
Sun,
and
moon,
so,
rising.
Yes, Pisces is imaginative, emotional, creative, but very like just so in tune with the ebb and flow of the emotions. They're very empathic. And then Cancer, as I said before, they're the nurturers, and they're also empathic, feeling and emotional, but they're also can be a little bit like, I need a shell to protect myself, because it's very hard to be vulnerable, except for around the people that you choose to be vulnerable around. And then they have that Gemini energy with the rising. So there's that beautiful mind that Nimir has with the curiosity and always wanting to learn. Nimir is always like learning and taking classes and engaging in learning something new. And I think that's that Gemini rising.
And because Nimir and I have a very loving relationship where we have to give each other shit, I think the Gemini rising is a lot of what appears as ADHD.
Definitely.
I love you. All right.
Definitely.
Aquarius, Capricorn, Taurus.
Aquarius, Capricorn, and Taurus. Let me see. Aquarians are the rebels and revolutionaries. And
we call them aliens.
They're also the scientists and inventors. They want to understand how things work in the same way that Gemini does. But the reason that they want to understand how things work and be curious about the world around them is because they want to make the world better. Like, I want to understand how these pieces work together so that I can reinvent it and fix it and make it into something even better, right? So there's that analytical mind. It's very creative. It shares the axis with Leo. So it's the opposite sign of Leo. And so there's that creativity and kind of sometimes the ego that says, I know what's best. But it's because they really are just applying their mind all the time, like on like high gear of like, how can I make this situation better? And then Capricorn can do the same thing with wanting to improve things all the time. I'm a Capricorn sun, and I know that one way that I kind of make fun of Capricorns is just by saying like, the Capricorn motto is do better.
Wow.
But like Capricorns are serious, they're focused, they're ambitious.
Do better. I love that.
Ambitious, but also can be judgmental. I won't lie. And I'm not trying to roast you, Jessica. I'm not, but I have Aquarius and Capricorn in my chart too, so I feel you. And then Taurus is the soft homebody that wants to just stay home and eat food, or like cuddle in soft blankets and not have to go to work. Like Taurus will work hard as long as there's a reward.
Yeah. How about Sayo, Pisces, Capricorn, and Aries.
All right. Well, again, Pisces being that very empathic,
Yeah.
intuitive
I love
energy.
Pisces people. I love
Yes,
Pisces
Pisces,
people.
you know,
Love
empathic
them.
and intuitive, but can also be overwhelmed by emotion because
Oh,
Pisces
and
is
they
like
go
the
dark.
energy of the tides. And so,
Yeah.
there's depression, or there's anxiety, or there's just the empathy is up to high and
Addictions.
yeah.
Pisces are prone to addictions. I have Pisces moon. I think that's
Mhm.
a lot of where my addiction problems came from. I like to escape into
Yeah, escapism, because those emotions are so like overwhelming that you need an escape,
yeah,
right? And so Pisces people definitely love escapism of some form, whether it's sometimes through substances, but sometimes it's just like fantasy novels, movies, Netflix, however you escape from stress can become addicting
oh
to a
yeah,
Pisces. They
yeah.
definitely have to try to keep themselves grounded. But Sayo has a lot of Capricorn in their chart, and let me tell you, I have seen their chart.
Sayo's in Hearth with you, right?
Well, Sayo had
Yes.
commented earlier that they were completely blown away when you did their reading for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. So Sayo's chart is like almost all like every planet is in Capricorn except
I'm
for like
so
their
sorry,
sun.
Sayo.
Except for like their sun and
Me
one
too.
other I don't remember which one, but thankfully that Pisces energy is very grounded.
Yeah, it
Right.
brings
So
it.
that's a good
Yeah,
thing, but it's also, Capricorn is very like ambitious and puts that ambition on themselves mainly above everyone else. So there's a lot of like, I need to do better.
yeah,
Like it's not only wanting other people to do better, but it's wanting yourself to be better too. And there's just that seriousness. It's not a risk-taking sign. We're not going to jump into something without knowing where we're going to land, right?
exactly.
Because then I'd have to start all over again. If I jump ahead of things and it doesn't work out, then I have to go back to the beginning and start all over. That's a waste of time. And Capricorns want to be sufficient.
Yeah,
Like, I'm going to put my energy into something, I'm going to know that it's going to work.
yeah.
Or otherwise, I'm not putting my energy into it.
I'm not. That's so funny because I always say that how I am with games. Like if
Mm.
I can catch on to a game right away and be pretty good at it, I'm into it. If I don't get the game and I fail and fail, I'm like, I don't want to fucking play this, and I'll never play it again.
And then Sayo has that Aries rising, so there's that like little bit of sassiness, that little bit of spicy like there's the Aries part is willing to jump into things without knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The Aries part is like willing to kind of take a risk or take a chance and test things, and also not take no for an answer.
Aries very strong. And then we got this is the last one. We got Kylie,
Okay. Kai. Hi,
Leo
Kai.
sun.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, Leo sun, Taurus moon, and Sagittarius rising. So there's that Leo energy, which is warm, loyal, creative, like generally very loving, but also needs that affirmation, needs that validation from external sources, because people say that Leo is like egotistical, but it's really that Leo is just seeking validation and needs to kind of hear from others that, yeah, we support you, we love you.
Yep.
But also they're very creative, very loyal, very warm, and will definitely like fight for their friends and stand up for people and just generally be delightful and fun to be around.
Yep.
Lola has the Leo rising, which
I have
makes
that.
you like so good at being the host of a show and doing your burlesque shows that you do. That's so your Leo rising coming through, because you're just
yeah. And I never understood that before because, like, with you, I was like reading about Capricorn, and I'm like, that's not
right.
me.
No, that was your Leo rising, right? And then
Yep.
and then Kai has the Taurus moon, which is very much like the again, the energy of Taurus is sensual and comfort seeking. And so Taurus is going to be hardworking if there's a reward for it in the end, or they're going to be motivated by something that brings them pleasure and comfort. And then the Sagittarius rising, again, we've had like 3 Sagittarius risings in here tonight. And so that's fun. Sagittarius rising, again, there's the adventurer, the philosopher, the one that's always seeking like higher education and more information, but not just the Gemini more information, the like higher order more information, like what does it mean and how can I apply this knowledge with wisdom. And the adventuring and traveling part from Sagittarius is because the more you experience, you broaden your horizons.
Mm-hmm.
And with a broadened horizon, you develop more wisdom, right? It's like when people travel the world and experience different cultures, they develop a better understanding of how the world works because you break free of your own, just like, oh, this is the way the world is in the town I was born.
One of my very
best friends, go out in the world to experience it, right? And then same with like going to college, getting higher education.
One of my
broaden those horizons.
One of my very best friends, Matthew, is a Sagittarius, and he is such the true. And I've never done his birth chart, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had like a lot of Sagittarius in it, because this guy like traveled Europe to just, he wanted the adventure, but he also wanted to learn things. He went to a school in Paris to learn for languages. This guy self-taught himself several languages. He taught himself Armenian, and his neighbors that moved in, this was in the 90s, were Armenian, and they were speaking that language, and he was having a full-on conversation with them. And they said, oh, when did you go to Armenia? And he goes, I've never been. I just wanted to learn it, and I picked it up. And I'm just, so yeah.
So he's saying he wanted to be a Kardashian?
Well, he just stop. Anyway, really quick before, because we're up at an hour, we can go over. It's the Capricorn brain in me is going hour, but then like
we don't have to rush the ending, but we can start wrapping things up. But if you have any final questions,
yes, absolutely. I also want to talk to you really quick about, can you in the next couple minutes just break it down? What is the fixed, the modalities? Can you break the modalities down and explain what that is real quick?
So there's the modalities are a division of the signs that are divided into 3 groups. So you have 1 per each season. If you divide the wheel into 4 seasons, then you can see on the wheel behind me, there's 3 sections per quarter.
Yeah.
Right. So there's 4 sections. And so the beginning of a season is cardinal.
Yep.
The middle of a season is fixed, and the end of a season is mutable. And so through that, we can derive meaning of a sign. The cardinal signs are the leaders. They're the beginning of an energy.
So that would be, what are those signs? What are those?
So those are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Those are the signs that happen on the equinoxes and the solstices.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the beginnings of each season.
Yep.
Yes. So they really come in with that energy that is bold and strong, and they're leaders, and they're just setting the tone for the whole season that's ahead of them, right? So they're setting the tone, or they're setting the tone for their element, because there's one for each of those signs, there's 1 for each element. So Capricorn is cardinal earth, Aries is cardinal fire, Libra is cardinal air, and Cancer is cardinal water.
Yep.
So there's 1 for each element, And so those are like they're setting the tone for their element, they're setting the tone for their season, they're starting things off. So those are the leaders of their segment. And then the fixed signs are the stabilizers. They come in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And so when a season starts, weather is changing, right? And then by the middle of the season, it has settled in, it's fixed, it's like solidly in that season now. And so the fixed signs are about stabilization. There's some stubbornness. There's a resistance to change because they're just doing what they do and they are not interested in changing. And so those are Taurus is the fixed earth sign, Leo is the fixed fire sign, Scorpio is fixed water, and Aquarius is fixed air.
Yep.
And those are the middle of each season that they happen in. And those are also the cross-quarter holidays.
He's making fun of Capricorns. He goes, "Are you sure that's not Capricorn?" But think about Capricorns. We start shit. We're really good at like.
Yeah, you're really good at picking a fight.
Oh my God. Okay.
I give you credit.
This is the Gemini and the Capricorn married. This is what's going to happen. Sorry, go ahead.
A whole lot of awesome.
No problem. And then at the end of a season, you have the mutable signs. So again, the weather starts shifting and changing. You're getting ready to shift into something new. So the mutable signs are more flexible and more like willing to kind of break out of a box or defy a definition. So a lot of the mutable signs are the ones that are the hardest to like break down or define. And those are Gemini is the mutable air.
Yep.
Virgo is the mutable earth. Sagittarius is the mutable fire, and Pisces is the mutable water.
Yeah.
And so those are the end of those seasons, coming up on starting a new one again. So it'll cycle around through all of them. And just understanding that basic energy of each sign gives you the first clue of like, are we working with energy that is leading, stabilizing, or changing?
Yep. And she breaks us down in her classes. Now, I know that you next year are thinking of running different classes. But like we said, if you want to catch the past ones and get your certification, go to the Seattle Psychics Association.com. If you want to learn more about Lilliana and what she does, she's freaking amazing. And like I said, we'll have you on again.
And
like we can.
Awesome.
It makes me happy seeing that your website's Hestia's Muse. Because
he's a priest of Hestia.
I'm a priest of Hestia. She is my patron goddess.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we didn't get to talk about. And maybe in a future show, I can talk about why I've chosen Hestia to
absolutely. Well,
my whole kitchen is dedicated to Hestia.
So we can totally get into that in another show. I also have my Patreon. So
what's your Patreon?
Patreon.com/Hestia's Muse.
patreon.com/Hestia's Muse.
So that way, if you want to support me, because I post a bunch of stuff on my social media. So find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, and I am posting regular astrology updates there. What sign is the moon in? What's going on astrologically? And if you want to support what I do and all the ways that I just give you information, there's like just the $5 a month tier.
Yeah.
And then I also post blog posts on my Patreon. There's a $10 a month tier if you want to give a little extra. Currently I have a $44 a month tier that gets you a personal transit reading with me every month.
Yeah.
So we'll sit down and look at the transits for you for that month and like set goals for you for that month with the astrology. And I mean, it's still
how good of a value that is by being able to pay monthly compared to what do you charge for someone to do that if you weren't a member?
of
Right.
Patreon.
So normally a reading with me is $80.
Yeah.
And
So
so
you're
you're
getting a half
saving a
price
lot.
in every month.
Yeah.
Every month.
Since you're doing it every month and coming back to me regularly, I want to give you a discount and a good price on that.
Support your fellow pagans.
Support your
Yeah.
local pagans, you guys. And then for us, please, if you can, donate to Children of the Crossroads. We put the show on. We are trying to work at getting more equipment to make our show a little more professional. If you want to see us professional, we will never be professional how we act. But technology, we would like to have some stuff.
Presentation-wise, sure.
Presentation, yes. Talking, no. So our PayPal is COTCATC. At PayPal me. We also have a Venmo, which is also COTCATC. And if you're oh my God, Lilliana, we could talk forever. I also want to let people know, if you want to continue, we used to do what we called after parties and film them. We don't want anything on film anymore, but we do have a Discord channel, which is in Wine Discord, and we hop into the Wine Night Discord channel, and I'm going to put that in the chat, and we will be there. And Lilliana, if you can make it, I will send this to you, and maybe people can ask you more astrology things if you're up for it. If not, don't worry.
Sure, we can kind of keep the conversation going in there for a little bit.
Yeah, we can do that. So message me or whatever if you need that Discord invite. We will be
I'm in your Discord already.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm telling our viewers if they want to find us. But thank you, you Capricorn brain. I love you. Also, thank you so much, you guys. And this has been, I mean, like I said, I had so many other questions. I just have to show the mini Astrology for Dummies book, just because it's a mini book. And
we found it at a mini price, and we now found out why.
It was really cheap. Anyway, all right. If you are ever interested in what we do as a coven, if you want to be a guest on our show, or you have an idea for a topic,
or if you have a wine you want us to talk about and show on the show,
because that's what kind of makes us a little different from witchy shows, is we educate you on wine. Like if you're going to drink it, you got to know about it.
Right.
So you can always email us at
crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
That was crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
I want to thank Lilliana. Oh my God, I freaking love you. We will have you on again if you want to come.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I love you too. I'm a huge fan of your show and of you both. You're amazing. I love you.
I love you. I'm a big fan. Remember, everyone, always be so kind and compassionate with one another. Always walk with the goddess. And until next time, blessed be everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see you later.
See you next week.
Blessed be. Bye. Smile.